Going live. Here we go.
You are watching Father Fish. Now please enjoy the video.
Hey kids, we're going live. That means you go in the back bedroom. Seriously, Jabin, you too. Yes. Jabin. Hey kids, we're going live. That means you go in the back bedroom.
There's a time that I remember when I never felt so low. No fellow of the hatred, just a bomb for star. And my heart feel like an ember. And it's burning at the dark.
Is out
Got me these
shopping.
gorgeous for you, but you know I'll never try. Yeah. Everybody hurts
James
sometimes.
Green.
Everybody hurts someday. Everything gon' be
Sarko.
alright. Only the past will say.
Sandy.
Here's to the ones that we got.
Scott.
Cheers to the wish you were here.
Greg. Derek.
Everything we've been through. Toast to the ones in the day. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. 'Cause it takes me back up. Memories bring back. Memories bring back.
Well, hello. Nice to see everybody here. And we have a new member of the team. I'd like you all to meet EJ. EJ, nice to see you. Now, we had you on last week and had an absolutely delightful time. Now, I'm going to call EJ Ellie, because that's a contraction of her name. And I think you're going to love this gal and her big smile. I'm just excited to have you here. I've got you muted there. You're unmuted.
Awesome.
Welcome.
All right.
Nice to have you.
Nice to be here.
Now, I need to get my other screen up here. I didn't do it ahead of time, so I'm kind of messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I normally do this ahead. We've been chatting though, and I kind of thought of fish on Friday. Here we go.
Yeah.
Get the volume up. Good. We're good. All right. I now have the chat up, or it will be. Yes, I do. I see we have the unisex fatherfish shoal. Keep it dirted small in black for $30. That's not my favorite, but it's nice. And let's see who's here. Greg Doniger, Martio 306, Mad Cypress.
And
Who else is- Go ahead. My scroll is not. Oh, there it is. My scroll's.
oh,
not
thanks,
working.
thanks, Craig. Yeah, he complimented my tank. I call it my masterpiece.
Oh, it is extraordinary. We got to see it last week. We're going to look at it again.
Oh, I added fish this week, so just what I already had. I haven't bought anything new, just fish that I've had that I had in holding tanks.
What kind of fish you put in it?
I had seven green neon tetras, 9 rummy noses. I put in all of my cherry shrimp and all of my Amano shrimp. It's fun watching those guys.
Okay, that's good. I was going to ask you earlier about that. We talked earlier today, and you had mentioned your shrimp, and I was going to suggest putting them in. That's great. That'll be nice. And you're going to be getting some pygmy sunfish, and they're going to go in there.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yes. Tomorrow, I'm going out collecting, and I'm going to try to take my camera along and see if we can get some video of that. So my goal tomorrow is to collect 100 pygmy sunfish.
Oh, you should definitely film that. I want to see highlights.
Right. Most I've ever done is 50, but I've got orders for almost 50. So I need to get extra so I don't have to go back again next week.
Mm-hmm.
False Aquatics, Press Alpha. Oh, that's Putty Tank. Hello, Putty Tank. We did Craig, Mark, Crystals. Hi, Crystal. Nice to see you.
Oh, happy Friday the 13th.
Right. I didn't know that until you said it.
I didn't know it until my kids said it.
I don't pay attention to such things. That means for that to happen, Sunday has to be the first. Last year, Sunday was the first in February. That means for 2 months in a row, we had a Friday 13th.
Oh.
Because
2021 was definitely a Friday the 13th year.
Yeah, it certainly was. All right. We got 20 people in.
Yeah, we got Boss Aquatics here.
Awesome. And Crystal. I love Crystal. Thank you for being here, Crystal. We had somebody came up with an interesting question in Discord today. They asked me if it was possible to do a fatherfish system in an Amano tank. And I was really delighted with the question because Amano and the Green Machine were two of the earliest influences on me to develop additives in the substrate. Because that's exactly what they were doing. They're putting additives in the substrate. Amano came up with it as a way of being able to generate a substantial amount of income. He created little packets of supplements, one different mineral or compound per packet. You bought 10 of these things and put every one of them in the bottom of the tank. The Green Machine demoed it, putting them all over the bottom of the tank on the glass, before he put uh, the the Amano soil on it. So Amano came
Kind
up
of
with
like
a way.
fertilizer tabs?
No, no, they're little packets of calcium, magnesium, sulfates, 10 different items. All of the things that I mix in my um, supplement, all of which you can buy in bulk in any garden shop. They're all commonly available in garden shops. They're all supplements. They're soil supplements.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so by doing that, what Amano was doing, and he started doing it back in the late '90s, maybe maybe as maybe as late as 2005, but I think a bit before that because those products he got them on the market well before 2010. Um, and all they were was little packets that you spent $5 a piece for a one dose, and you bought all 10 of them as $50 plus $50 for the Amano soil, and then another $25 for whatever he was using to cap the soil. So for $125, you could have exactly what I figured out how to do for about 25 bucks.
Yeah, about $25 is about what I spent at Home Depot putting all that together.
Yeah, right.
And I don't even have to do all of them.
Right.
I mean, I
right.
already have Epsom salt and baking soda,
Right.
you know.
That's
and,
right.
And frankly, I mean, if I miss one or two of those extra little additives, I mean, the plant fertilizer already has a lot of that stuff that we just add to it.
Yeah, I was watching another stream last night, I think, and they were talking about using Osmocote. I use Osmocote. I put it in my supplement. Not a lot of it, really, only a little bit of it, because it goes pretty far, but it's a slow release, and it provides that, just as you're saying, that extra kick and a kind of a backup to everything else. So it's a really good product and it works well. The only thing I've discovered with it is that it has to go down under the substrate. If you put it on the surface and try to press it down, it'll work its way back up. It's lighter than sand and lighter than soil, so it has a tendency, it's not going to float. It won't come up to the surface, but it'll roll around on the top unless you get it well under the sand. So the time to use it is when you're setting the tank up, mix it with the soil, cap that with sand, and you'll be good to go. But anyway, this whole idea of Amano just kind of fascinated me because he was really the first person to develop the notion that the substrate needed to be supplemented with nutrients in order to give it the long-term effectiveness that Wallstead did not cover in her book. So that's a major step in the progression. It went from Wallstead to Amano, and then from Amano through Green Machine to Father Fish, and the next step in that only occurred about 5 years ago. All of this was going on back in the early part of the century, around 2005 to 2010. It really started in the 1990s with Wallstead doing dirt. So this has been almost a 20-year progression of getting to the place where we now have a food web built into our natural system.
Well, you know, I'm Amana was a little bit before my time, actually quite a bit before my time. October is when I started doing this. Um, it, I don't know. I mean, to me, it was necessarily that progression, but Volstead pops up when I do a lot of searching. Amano popped up, but I don't know much about him. But obviously the shrimp that's named after him. I've seen a little bit of his work, but I didn't realize he would sell crystals. Is it still around?
I don't know. The Amano products are, the dirt is, they probably are. He died about 5 or 6 years ago as a young man. He was in his mid 50s. My 58 rings a bell, but
Yeah, that
that
is
may
young.
not be accurate. I think it was about 58. So it was a dreadful, a dreadful thing when he died, because he had broken through with so many procedures that were really brand new. The one that I found myself using, and I mentioned it recently, I think on a video. He spent some of his early videos and even the later ones. He had a crew with him when he set up a system, and he would spend hours determining the precise location of a rock, and then the precise location of a second rock. So he might spend a day or 2 days or more setting out the hardscape. Eventually,
That
he
sounds
got to
familiar.
the place where he realized that simply dumping them all in the tank created exactly the same sense of a natural environment that the aesthetic placement did. And I
Wait a
thought
minute.
that, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you mean to say that spending hours to make it look natural is the same effort as just dumping it all in the tank, which takes a really relative matter of about a minute?
That was his breakthrough on perception. Yeah, and
Okay.
this is an
That could have
artist
saved
at
me some
work.
time.
Isn't that interesting? Um, Now that happened right before his death, so it was really the last really big breakthrough, and it never got much play. It kind of got ignored, and I've brought it up a few times since then. I'm not aware that anyone else has. I need to go back and try to find that video where he made the point.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to see that.
We need to dig it out. That'll be,
Archives.
yeah,
Archives.
really, really.
Oh, just sorry to interrupt, but Vanessa has a question about putting a fine gravel over the sand substrate.
Yes.
She wants to convert her tanks to your dirted substrate, but she likes the look of fine black gravel. Is that, I mean, what they sell at PetSmart, they call it fine black gravel, but it looks like sand. It's just like a thick, a larger grain. I'm not quite sure if that's what you're
I don't know
talking
what
about.
that product is. I don't think I've seen that one. The answer to Vanessa's question, Vanessa Smoothie, Vanessa, we need to get you wrenched up here. That's a very classy question. Could you give me your thoughts on putting a fine gravel over the sand substrate? I want to convert my tanks to your dirted substrate. Okay, couple of things. First of all, let's talk about this a little, Vanessa. Are you starting over, or are you simply creating a deep substrate based on what you already have going on? And here's the point. If you have a tank that's been set up for a year or more, and you have maybe an inch of gravel, you probably have cleaned that a few times and are fed up with having to do that. You ran into Father Fish who told you you can cap it, and you're delighted because you don't have to clean it anymore. And that's absolutely right. So what you can do in that case, you really do not need to break it down, put dirt in, start from scratch. You can simply add sand to the top of that gravel. And then if you want to put a little covering on top of that, this gravel you like the look of. I really like the look of the river gravel. That's that very small river rock gravel.
You mean like the pea gravel they sell for $4 at Home Depot?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's beautiful stuff. I really like it as a cap on top of the sand. Now you can do it an inch deep. You can do it a quarter of an inch deep, half an inch, whatever. But yeah, the critical thing is to get the sand in there, because what that sand is going to do is allow the detritus to precipitate into the bottom of the substrate, whether it's gravel or dirt or whatever it is. The point is, if it's gravel that's been sitting there for a year, it becomes dirt in effect. It has enough detritus moving into it and enough humic substance that it becomes an enriched substrate. So, and that works fine. That works fine for growing plants. It works fine for creating a balanced environment. You can do that. You can start out with that. The only reason I don't recommend it is it takes then about a year for that substrate to become balanced and rich enough to really be able to not only support plant life, but to break down waste. And that's the other critical component of dirt. It provides enough organic material to be breaking down the waste product as it moves in there. That takes a long time anyway. That can take up to 5 years. So this is not a quick process. This is a very slow process.
You were saying it takes a long time. I was actually at the fish store today, and I walked into the saltwater area, and I was talking to the guy in there, and we were discussing what it takes to set up a reef tank. I have no interest, but I was just curious, asking questions. And I was asking how long it takes for a saltwater tank to cycle. And apparently it could take anywhere from a month to like 8 months before you can even add fish. I mean, the concepts of, which is not well known. It seems like it's not well known in the freshwater aquariums, where you just like, okay, great. You set up your tank and you add fish immediately without considering the beneficial bacteria. Those concepts are like the patience, I guess, it takes in setting up a reef tank and understanding what it takes to have a beneficial bacteria natural ecosystem is more prevalent there than it is, I guess, in the tropical fish world. Might have something to do with the fact that their fish is like $1 million a piece, but.
Well, that's right. And what's interesting is that it was really the reef guys who got hold of this dirty deep substrate thing. You were muted.
Yes, I do that individually so I don't hear the background.
All
and
right.
then you can talk. And then when I want to talk, I'll unmute myself.
Yeah, you're more on the ball than I am. I don't do that because I forget to unmute. So, anyway, yeah, there's an organization. It is now defunct, although their website is still available, and is a remarkable library of information. It has, oh Lord, comparable to thousands of volumes of material and information. I hope that somebody's going to be able to keep that going, that it'll be mirrored somewhere. It's called GARF, GARF. It's probably the primary source of information about deep substrate saltwater systems, raising coral, and all of that. They started in the 90s um, by going out into the ocean and collecting mud and using that as the foundation of their deep substrate system. They called it miracle mud, and they began improving it by bringing in mud from literally all over the world. They found that the richest environments were the mangrove swamps in Australia. And they actually incorporated that into their substrate and sold it as miracle mud. You could buy this stuff as a starter culture. And I think that was that was the place that gave me the idea of putting together a package. Now I don't do live culture in that yet, although I could, and I may yet.
Not a bad idea. I mean, they do sell, I think, at PetSmart or Petco or both of those places, they have a plastic package of substrate with beneficial bacteria that's a perfect starter for a betta fish. But it's like $7 for a handful, $8 for a handful, when you
And
can just go outside.
it probably only contains 2 or 3 forms of bacteria. It's unlikely that they're going out collecting wild material to create this.
Oh no, they're definitely not. I'm sure of it. Everything looks very sanitized, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like the look of some of these beautiful. I guess before Romano passed on, and he started throwing rocks everywhere in his aquariums. When I first got into this, I'm looking at all these very clean cut lines, $1 million CO2 systems, bright red plants, and I'm looking at all of this stuff and going, that's gorgeous. I don't have the budget for it, but it's gorgeous, and I like a lot of the aesthetic look. So how can I incorporate a little bit of the messy natural look, because it's a little bit more raw. You're looking at more of a raw material. So how can I incorporate that raw material that frankly just works and grows better? How can I do that and yet make it look a little bit somewhat more clean lines? And so I think I found a little bit of a system. I'm working on it anyways.
What do you tell me a little more about that? What are you talking about?
Well, the deep substrate, for example, you want to put dirt and then you want to put sand. But the sand, I guess you could say the clean line, modern aquascaping look involves, very little of the sand look on the bottom and kind of slopes to the back of the tank to give it more of a depth. And that's sort of, I guess, the aesthetic look that people like with that kind of aquarium. So what I did with this is, yes, you can still see a little bit of the sand, and it's actually, there's a rim right there. There's sand under that too, but there's dirt in there, but you can't see the 2 layers of the dirt. You can't see the layer of the dirt and you can't see the layer of the sand. So I'm not going to have the sand and then the dirt look. I wanted the clean line aesthetically of just simply one looking substrate. So I still put the dirt in there, but I put about an inch of sand in between the glass and the dirt. And then I still
How do you do
it.
that?
I use one of those. Oh shoot, I don't have it on me, but I use one of those the aquascaping tool package that you can get on Amazon. So there's one. Yeah, there's one that's like a stick, and it's got 2 triangles on it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can find mine. Right.
And there's like one with a stick with 2 triangles on it, and you're able to take the bigger one and kind of, move that sort of as a wedge in between the glass and the dirt, and then you can just pour in sand in between. It actually doesn't take that long to do. Yeah, I got one of those.
It's
Actually, a bunch of those.
my tray of tools. You see
Yes.
this one?
Yep. Yes,
Like
I do. That's really sharp looking.
You
gotta
got,
be
you got
careful.
one of those.
I do. And I need to use it right now. I've
Yeah,
got too
let's
much
see.
growth going on.
What I'm looking for here is the paddle. Got all these scissors. Look at all my scissors, Lord. I got 10
Is that
pairs
what they
of
call it? It's a paddle? Paddle? Yeah. Oh.
Have you seen that one?
No. Like I said, I just got the I've got a basic Amazon $5 package that has essentially 1, 2, 3, 4 tools in it.
Oh, I don't have what I want. Darn, it's gone.
Oh.
Um,
Hmm.
the one with the diamond shaped paddle.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's more in here. Do I have it in
I
here?
can't.
No, I just escaped.
Here's another. These scissors, the S-shaped scissors, which is a wonderful for being able to trim. Arizona Garden Supply
Oh,
has those.
yeah, that works well if you're trying to trim a carpet or an overgrown pearl weed carpet.
Darn, it's not here. I'll bet I don't have it. Anyway,
I've got 2 of them running around.
yeah, I got a bunch of them. The idea is if you simply run that down the side of the glass.
Yes, I put it in between, put that wedge in there, and then I just fill it with sand. And it's only about an inch. It doesn't take. I mean, I still want the soil to be mostly there. I just, for aesthetic purposes, wanted a more a more consistent look.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's easy enough to do. Let me
And
see
then,
if I can.
yeah. And then one of your videos said something along the lines of it could be anywhere between a 2-inch to a 4-inch cap. So you start with the 2-inch at the front and you work your way up to the 4-inch in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got depth to your aquarium.
Right. Now, yeah, it's a slick way to do it. There's some people who don't like the look of that. I find after lost my camera.
Ooh, fun.
After a while, you don't notice it anymore. But this would be an easy one to do that with. There's a little gobies. I'm down to 1 gourami.
Is that a licorice gourami?
It is, yeah.
Oh, I was looking at one.
Yeah, I'm down to 1. I'm gonna get some more. I like
Aren't they
them.
endangered?
Probably. Yeah.
Oh, I know there was another question, and it was Monster Juice. They're asking if they heard somebody told them that they
I
could
saw
put an
that.
amber turd. I don't even know what an amber turd is.
I don't know what that means either, frankly, unless it simply means poop.
Hey,
And
I
yes,
mean,
you could do that. You could put poop in it.
it's a thing.
I mean,
guess.
who would want to, but you could.
If you want to go
Here's
with
the
that.
problem. Here's the issue.
That's really organic.
Yeah, organic material is good to be able to have in that 1-inch dirt layer at the bottom. There's a problem though. And the problem is if it is too rich in organics, then it will create so much biological activity that it will blow through the sand and it'll foul the tank. So I had it happen once when I was being deliberately reckless in setting up a 10-gallon tank.
Was that an experiment or?
Yeah,
that
I have
was
a video of it. uh, I'll try to dig it out maybe. I was being a mad scientist, and I was grabbing material by the hands full and the cup full and throwing them in the tank. I think I wound up with 2 or 3 inches of dirt, and then I poured a bunch of sand on top. In the 10-gallon tank, the whole thing was probably 5 to 6 inches deep. Filled it up with water. Within a week, it was foul, and even though I did water changes on it, I couldn't fix it.
Yeah, time to tear that one down.
So,
Have fun cleaning that.
right, exactly. So I dumped it and threw it away. But it was a great learning experience because the way to mess this up is to overdo the dirt layer. I insist on 1 inch in any tank under a 55-gallon. Now, in a 55-gallon, you can do 1.5 to 2 inches of dirt if you're going to do 3 to 4 inches of sand on top of it. But you've got to overcompensate then if you do that. It has to do with as much with water volume as anything else. I had 200-gallon tanks that I put 2 to 3 inches of dirt in and 4 to 6 inches of sand, and it worked brilliantly and lasted for years. I didn't get that explosion, but in a smaller volume with more than 1 inch of dirt and less than 2 inches of sand, it's going to blow up on you.
That's good to know. That's very good to know.
Yeah, the biological activity will overwhelm the ability of the sand to contain it. And when that happens, basically you're done. You're out of business. So that's how you screw it up. You put too much dirt in and not enough sand, or too much dirt in a tank that's too small to be able to handle it.
What are the signs that you overdid it? Excessive algae, muddy, murky water?
Oh, utterly foul conditions.
Mm.
I mean, it'll rot. It'll be rotten and foul, and you won't be able to overcome it.
So it'll smell too.
It'll stink, right? Real bad.
Follow your nose. Got it.
Right, follow your nose. Well, there's an interesting tool.
Oh, I was going back to the Osmocote. So
Yes.
there was a YouTube video that I watched a couple months ago where somebody took an experiment of some of the major name brand fertilizers, and Osmocote's pretty popular, or I've seen it in more than one, and done more than once by other people recommending. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. Excuse me. So, but what they do is people take these capsules that you can get, online, and you can fill them up, and then you stick them under the soil. And so that's, I don't know, I haven't done that yet. I was thinking about doing it, but I haven't done that yet. So they have that as one of the experiment, or one of the experiments, and then, or one of the test subjects was the Osmocote in the capsules. But they also use other root tabs, C-chems, I think Aquarium co-ops, API. And so I guess they planted them in a bit of soil in a container, and then they stuck them in the aquarium for a week, and they stuck various types of aquarium plants in there to just see how they did. And they did the experiment for probably about 2 weeks. These root tabs, to see how these aquarium plants grew with these root tabs. And there was some pretty good growth in all of them, but I was interested when you said in one of your videos that I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Osmocote, right.
Osmocote, when you said in one of your videos that the Osmocote is a slow release, it made me think of that video or that experiment that this person conducted, because Osmocote didn't really do well in that experiment, but it was only a 2-week experiment and it wasn't a long-term experiment. And that made a lot of sense to me, and also made me think about, when you're doing experiments with your, aquariums, I was like, oh, well, I guess there's the immediate results, but then you have to look at the long-term results. I don't know. It's just all of it's just pretty fascinating.
The problem with the capsule, loading the capsule up with Osmocote, is that it's too strong. You're putting maybe 25 or 30 Osmocote beads in one of those capsules and putting it in a single spot in the substrate, and it'll burn up any roots that come near it. Because it's too strong. You only need one of those pellets for a given plant.
Okay, that makes it a little bit more difficult to plant in your substrate after
Well,
the fact.
you can do it. You can do it with tweezers. Where are my tweezers? Huh? And normally we have them right here. Oh, here we are. You got one of these?
Yes, I do. Multiple.
That's a great tool.
It is. I've got one that's really, really thin and one that's a little thicker, and I prefer the thinner one.
Right.
Oh, Petro Man says he uses Osmocote. He makes ice cubes out of them and then stick them in the sand.
Yeah, ice cubes work well too. Thank you, Press Alpha. I've taken note of your comment and acted accordingly. I appreciate it. Yeah, you can pick up 1 or 2 little Osmocote beads with something like this and press them down in there and to be able to do that. You don't need much. It's very powerful stuff, and it lasts for 3 to 6 months. So it's really slow release. It's an excellent product.
Yeah, I accidentally ordered 2 containers, so I'll be using them for a while.
That's okay. Yeah, it's what I like to do is I put about a capful, which is maybe a tablespoonful, in a package meant to be mixed in with dirt, a package of supplements meant to be mixed in with enough dirt to do a 100-gallon tank, which is more than 2.
Do you sell that on your website?
I do. It's $20 for a package.
And it's good for 100 gallons.
Good for 100 gallons, right?
Ah.
And it has 10 or 11 different materials in it.
$20, 100 gallons. That's about the same price as what I spent on the I guess the ingredients. And then but it sounds like you just saved me time. I just do the math. I'm not trying to promote anything or anyone. I'm just doing the math because time is money. So you're telling me that all the stuff that already costs $25, but then I have to mix it myself, I can save that and just order it from you, and I don't have to have a whole bunch of extra stuff lying around.
Right, that's true. And also it's 10 different items, not 2 or 3. So your actual cost would be more like $50 to get all of those. And some of them you can't get in small quantities.
No, it's true. I have a lot of stuff. But I mean, I do a lot. I really enjoy doing this because there's constantly stuff in my head that I think of or I dream of, and I want to, see what happens if I can make it work.
Right.
And so I don't mind having that. It's like I don't mind having that stuff lying around, but not everybody's like that. Not everybody, some people just want an actual aquarium where they're set up and it looks pretty and it's that ecosystem and you enjoy it and you just like to stare at it for hours. You don't want to have to worry about what's in and out of the substrate. You just want to make it you just want to make it healthy. Actually, I was up at 3. I couldn't sleep, so this is on a timer too. I put it on a timer, but so it was like a little bit of light, and so I got up at 3 and I was just sort of looking at it, and you could see all the nighttime microfauna as opposed to the
Oh,
daytime
right,
microfauna.
right.
Yeah, it was like a completely different world.
Crispy plant saying need more than 2 weeks just to
Yeah.
adapt to new conditions. Now, let me suggest something to you. You were talking
Okay.
about saltwater fish.
I was.
Years ago, actually, many years ago, actually, when I was 15 years old, which is nearly 70 years ago, I had a
Well,
friend.
you just dated yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm 81. I'll be 82 in September. I had a friend who owned a pet shop. It was called, or a fish store. It wasn't a pet shop. It was a tropical fish store. He had fresh and saltwater fish. This would have been in about 1955. His name was Merle Cohen. He had a brother named Dave. They were maybe 10 years older than me. They were in their mid 20s when they started the shop. I got to know them and got involved with their shop. Met Merle 30 years later when he and I both were serving on the board of directors of the National Aquarium. And as a part of that, he set up a demo tank, a saltwater demo tank. And here's how he did it. He brought in a 55-gallon tank, set it up on a stand. This was outdoors. We did have electricity. I think he had a pump, a filter running in it, or an air pump or something. He set the tank on the stand. He opened a bag of salt, saltwater salt, half a bag, whole bag, dumped the whole bag in. Had a garden hose with city tap water, put the water in, swirled it around, dissolved it all, hooked his pump up, and dumped fish in the tank.
Like
He
right
did
away.
that. He did that in about an hour. From
I don't even think we should do that with
bare
well,
tank
that's good.
to fish in 1 hour. And I asked him about that. And he said, so long as you're not putting food in there, you're not creating an ammonia problem.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That tank was set up for 3 days. No food was put in that tank for 3 days. The fish were fine. They were doing fine. None of them died. They all lived. At the end of the 3-day display, he took them out, took them back to his shop, and put them in his tanks. Now, the lesson for me was what's critical is controlling ammonia. What's not critical is how long it takes to get fish in the tank. So here's the deal. With a deep substrate tank, saltwater or freshwater, I've done it both ways. Once you've got it set up and have the water running, I don't recommend same day. I recommend second day in order to give things a chance to just stabilize. And I don't recommend loading it up with fish. I recommend a few fish and plants. Now, in a saltwater tank, I recommend macroalgae. I've got a tank here that's loaded with macroalgae that I collect from the Gulf. It's got 2 different species in it.
What kind of system is that? Is What kind
That's
of
salt
system
water.
is that?
It's a
Saltwater.
saltwater. Yeah.
I've
it's a
never
salt,
seen a saltwater aquarium look like that.
right. Probably. I have about 20 fish in here. This is a 29 tall. I have no filtration. I've got 6 inches of substrate. This tank I started with freshwater substrate and I added saltwater mud and sand to the top of it, about 3 to 4 inches. I put 2 pumps in it, one at each end, just water pumps. I think I do have a sponge filter in here. And there are about 20 fish in this, mollies and saltwater killies. They're all 3 to 4 inches in size.
They
They're
look
pretty big
fat and
fish.
happy.
They've been in there for about 6 months. Have yet to lose a fish.
Real quick, Kevin's asking me if I have a dirted tank. Yes, that is dirted. There's 2 inches. There's about almost 2 inches of dirt. And then there's like 2 inch to 4 inch sand cap, but that's dirt. That's dirted. That's organic potting soil and a bunch of other additives.
Cody Fuller, my brother gave me some rocks and wood they had sitting around in his front yard. They would look great in the tank. What, if anything, do we need to do before putting them in the tank? First of all, find out if he has used any kind of insecticide on his lawn. If he has, you need to boil them. You need to clean them to get that toxin out of it. And point of fact, I would probably not use the wood, because if he did that, the wood is going to have toxins soaked into it, and you'll never really get it out. If he is not, if there's been nothing to bring it in contact with any toxins, you can dump it right in the tank. You don't need to do a thing to it. Yeah, I got it, Press Alpha. I got it. Thank you. We were being what's the word?
Oh, we were being trolled?
We were being trolled, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they're going to get a few of those.
So I
Always
kicked him
makes
out.
things interesting.
Monster Juice got his message deleted. We'll give him another chance.
Yeah, he might actually add to the conversation.
Yeah, I mean it was clever, but not disgusting, and not inappropriate, in point of fact. So we'll give him another crack. I didn't ban him. I didn't kick him out. I just deleted the message, more as a warning than anything.
Hey, it's a free country. First Amendment, right?
Kevin Rosenberg has licorice gouramis. I love licorice gouramis.
I was looking into licorice gouramis, and everything I was reading online says that they're relatively difficult to keep. But then I look at the parameters in which they need to be kept, and they seem pretty easy for the parameters. So I wasn't quite sure what the problem would be, or why they.
I think the problem is food.
Oh well, food web.
Yeah, exactly. They're wild caught. Now mine did fine. I had 4 of them in here for about 5 months, and then I did some screwy water changes. I wound up putting recycled water in as a water change, and that didn't do them in. But then when I corrected it with better water, I lost 3 of them instantly. So they do not tolerate any kind of variation, any kind of change in water conditions. If you can keep them stable with the food web, you can keep them going. I've got a video of 3 of them hovering below a pair of bettas that were spawning. And as the eggs fell down, they snatched them up. The
Hey,
bettas did
circle of
not,
life, man.
yeah, they did
Circle of
not
life.
succeed. They didn't succeed in saving one egg. Those little Valentes got every one of them.
I'm
It
pretty
ma-
sure my Amano shrimp have, like, they're really big to the point where they actually bully the pea puffers a bit sometimes, which is fun to watch. They make eggs all the time, but I know these shrimplets, the Amano shrimplets, they don't survive in anything but brackish water. So the way I figure it is once they release the eggs, it's fish food.
yeah,
Because
right, right. Well, that's babies. They're born alive. They don't simply release the eggs. They
oh,
hold they hold on to those eggs until they hatch. And even after they hatch, they'll hold on to them. I had a crayfish once that was carrying babies, and I disturbed her, and there was this cloud of baby crayfish that just exploded in the tank.
oh, that must have been fun to watch.
That was neat. Yeah, I was trying to get rid of them at the time, so
Well,
uh,
that was a counterintuitive
yeah, it
then.
didn't work real well. Right. Let's see if there are any other questions here.
Cheapest, most effective way top filter a 20-gallon. I'm thinking it's James Howell is asking this. A biggish water bottle with ceramic media and then a pre-filter sponge.
You know, I've got a couple of these bottles here. I picked up from a guy who I bought all of his system because he had to move out of town. I've never used them. I've never used uh, uh, a uh, a bottle filled media thing. What it does is it captures bacteria on the surface of the media, which breaks down. It's a chemical filter, or I should say a biological filter. It's a biological filter. It breaks down ammonia and nitrites rather. So it's a perfectly effective way to be able to cycle water. I just never used them. Yeah, I don't have a problem with them. I think it's fine. Um, I find that the dirted substrate does it, frankly, a whole lot better. It's like CO2. The dirted substrate creates 100 times more CO2 than a CO2 system can create in the water, and you don't have the pH variation.
Oh, that explains why my plants grow like I have CO2.
Yeah, exactly right, because
Oh,
you
that makes so
do.
much sense. Oh,
That's
okay.
exactly that's what's happening, but it's happening in the substrate rather than in the water column.
Oh, that explains why the plants that grow red in CO2 are still growing red in a low-tech tank. Oh, but Fanatic has been asking twice, can I use some rocks from my local river to scape my 20-gallon? I mean, I've done that.
Please do. Please do. And don't rinse them off when you do it. And while you're out there, if you can find some rotted leaves, bring that back too. Any kind of loam, any kind of mud. If you get mud out of there, bring it in, mix it with sphagnum or peat moss or anything that's going to loosen it up because it tends to be very thick and dense. You want to soften it up and then cap that with sand. That brings. Let me do it this way. The natural farming research claims that you need 1,000 species of bacteria 500 species of um, God, my brain's not working.
It's Friday. Oh,
Right,
Moon Boots
that's
just
right.
sent you $5. Thank you, Moon Boots.
Oh, Moon Boots, good man. Thank you, Moon Boots. 500 species of what's mushroom?
Fungus?
Fungus, thank
Fungi?
you.
Fungi?
Right. And 150 species of microfauna in order to be able to have a balanced dirt environment to grow plants in. So you transpose that to saltwater, to your aquarium, you need 1,000 species of bacteria, 500 species of fungus. Where are you going to get that? You're not going to get it out of a bottle. Nobody sells it. The way to get it is to go out in nature and take it out of the natural environment, because that's what the natural environment contains. That's exactly what's there. So by bringing in even a starter culture of that, putting it in your tank, you're bringing everything in that the tank needs in order to be able to be fully balanced and fully cycled. So by all means, bring in the rocks, bring in the wood, bring in the dirt, bring in the mud, bring in the leaves, bring the whole thing in, cap it with sand to be able to keep it down in the substrate and not in the water column, and you are home free.
Yeah, Elaine Ingram. You actually mentioned her on a video. Elaine Ingram's Natural Soil.
That's
You,
exactly right. Yep.
yeah, you've mentioned her on a video, and so I looked her up. It has absolutely nothing to do with aquariums and tropical fish, but it has everything to do with it. And I mean, I just, uh, you pointing me in that direction. It's a little overwhelming now that I'm just watching these seminars now, and it's relatively tedious, but they're talking. I guess as I'm getting through it, they're talking about the soil web and fungi and how and natural farming. So they're not talking about aquariums, but they are talking about exactly what you were saying. What they really need to do, what Elaine really needs to do, is do what Diana Wallstead did: is write a book that specifically addresses the fish keepers and the planted tank people,
Yeah,
and
I don't think
equate what
she's
she's learning.
interested. She,
It's too bad.
she's
Maybe when she
she's
retires.
trying. She is trying to get what she's doing to go global.
It's probably what she's trying to do is a bigger picture, but
Yeah, exactly. But we sure can use
feeding the
it.
world. Yes.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense, and it really it's the final piece of the puzzle. The only thing beyond that that's critical to understand is the nature of the water. I did a video about water memory, and there's really good research that's been going on for about 10 years in Paris, studying water memory. Now, I haven't gotten deeply enough into it to understand it very well, but my position is that water is, in a very real sense, alive, just like the dirt is alive, and the food and the fish are alive, and the plants are alive, and everything else is alive. The water is alive in exactly the same way. And that means not only that it has life in it, but that it is in and of itself comprised of living functions. It's able to retain chemically the memory of everything that has ever been in it.
I'd like to hear more or look more into that. I feel like we're on, well, this whole from when I started in October to where I am now, there's a bunch of rabbit trails. I haven't gotten to half of
Exactly.
it, but it does sound like something eventually I'll be wanting to learn more about.
We need to go down this trail. I agree absolutely. I think it's really the solution to the whole issue of water changes. I mean, why do we do water changes? Partly we do them, and I do it. I do them here. I did. I didn't do water changes. I did top offs on my tanks today because they were evaporating down. I had like I was 4 inches down in here, and the water was starting to get a little cloudy. So I added 4 inches of new water, and it looks a lot better. The fish are acting happier. The water looks clearer. But I don't
Great
really,
colors.
yeah,
Beautiful. Ooh, is that a discus?
don't really understand what that achieved. I know it achieved something significant. We need to understand that better. And it's
Ooh, you have
obvious.
tiger lilies.
Isn't it pretty?
Oh
Yeah.
my, yes.
I've got 2 of them here, and I've also got another dwarf lily in the back there. I cut the leaves off to the surface, so it stays purely. It stays. Yeah, I keep these plants growing. I got the long stems. I break those all off. I don't know if I got anything. I haven't done it today. Like
So
that.
I was
See?
at Petco a while back, and so I didn't know that I actually didn't know, not the tiger lily, it was the dwarf. I didn't know that there was a separate species besides tiger lily.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah,
There are
and
2 or 3 different species.
yeah, I was
Oh,
at Petco,
here's the
and
other one.
this is like not a million. It was like a couple of months back. It was just before Christmas, and they had this really sad looking, almost about to die lily bulb, and I thought it was a tiger lily because I got one of those elsewhere. I'm a little bit of a plant hoarder, actually. The way I look at it is, you take care of the plants, you take care of the fish, and my fish, their colors just pop. They're so healthy. But I see this dwarf lily. I didn't know it was a dwarf lily. I thought it was like a sad looking tiger lily. And I convince the employee, because it looks like it's about to die, that they should give it to me for free. And so she does that, and because she was like, it's going to die anyway. And it actually wasn't just one; it was 3 of them with tiny little runners. Because apparently, if a plant is about to die, it kind of shoots out
Yep.
or tries to propagate. And so I had 2 other little propagates, and then I took it home and just kind of tried to. I couldn't tell you how I did it. I just stuck it in some soil and a small sand cap. It wasn't like the father fish dirted stuff, but it was just potting soil and a sand cap, and it wasn't like the different inches, but I was just trying to do something with it. And now they've grown about 20 inches. And then about when they started growing, I'm looking at it going, this doesn't look like the tiger lily that I have. What is this?
That's right. Did you see this one? With the red leaves. That's a different type.
That's a different type of tiger lily?
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
no,
it's
no,
not
a dwarf. Dwarf.
It's a dwarf. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. The leaves are shaped differently too.
Yeah. That is not an apology. Oh, here's another tiger lily. Should have an
I do love those reds.
Yeah, they are pretty. I finally got red root going.
Red rooters, the
Red
floating
root.
plants?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I bought a bunch
Somebody
of these.
gave me a bunch of those. Apparently they need really high light.
Well, I've got them going. They're doing well. And I don't have all that much light. Just trying to see.
Hey, that looks like
was
my fish room.
Mucking with it today. There's just a little one. There's some mixed in with the duckweed.
I see. Oh, there's one of your is that tiger lily?
Yeah, yes, it is. Right.
Better cut that one off, right?
Right.
I've got some red rooters in there. They're doing well.
Now, I have tanks that I never turn the lights off. Like this one, for example.
Your Blackwater aquarium, the one you're working on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because I want to get a maximum amount of light to the plants. I want to make sure that they survive. I've also noticed that the hatchet fish are at the top now. And for the first week, they were kind of halfway down.
Don't they like being at the top, like
Yeah,
normally?
yeah, they were not doing that initially, though. I think they were stressed, and now they're all at the top. So I've been
that's a
feeding
good
them. In
sign.
fact, these rams are beginning to pair off. They're all looking at There are like half a dozen of them right there.
They have such neat little personalities.
Oh, they do. They're great. And there's a pair of golden top minnows, and they've been spawning. Well, if you can see.
Yes,
The gold
yes, I do.
flecks and the female, yeah.
Neon tetras are supposedly really neat for Blackwater as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
I haven't attempted I haven't really dedicated a tank to Blackwater yet. I was looking into because I did create a tank with a lot of tannins in it, thinking that maybe it could be kind of a Blackwater, and that's when I discovered that a lot of plants don't grow in Blackwater.
Well, that's the problem. That's why
Yeah.
I'm leaving the light on.
Ah. Yeah, so when I do eventually start experimenting, directly focusing on this, because again, I want the natural system, but I also kind of like the clean lines of the aesthetic aquascapers that spend hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars on their equipment. But I like a little bit of those clean lines, but I like moving it towards more of it's like taking raw materials and refining it, but it's still, I don't know, it's still natural enough.
Right.
I don't know. I walk that balance, or I try to. I just want to see if it's done. I want to be able to say, look at this system that looks exactly like this other system that costs hundreds and thousands of dollars, and this was a $25 setup.
Right. Exactly.
But oh God, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so there's some really neat Blackwater systems out there that I'm sure they spend a lot of money on, and they buy these huge branches that are probably $60 a piece. No, seriously, I was at the
I
Tetra
know.
today, where I was looking at one that was probably about this big, and it was $50. And I
Right.
looked at that and go, I can find an azalea bush and dig it up, the roots,
Right.
and do the exact, it'll take a little bit longer, but it'll do the exact, oh, that's nice wood.
Amazing.
Wait a minute, that looks like a store-bought wood.
Yeah, it is. It's not anything I collected. It's Mapani wood, I think. Somebody gave it to me.
Ah.
And I'm thinking about using it.
Because it's tannin.
Yeah,
in that one?
Tank.
Okay.
Yeah, this thing. Can you see it?
Kind of. A little bit of a glare, but I can see it. Is that what you're trying to scape right now?
Yeah, I haven't figured out how to do it yet.
What's the challenge?
Well, there are a couple of things. I wanted to do shallow water, but it's made with the intake for the filter halfway up.
Oh.
So I'm going to have to get in there with a Dremel and open it up about 2 to 3 inches from the bottom.
How many gallons is that?
about maybe 5 or 6.
Oh, I have one of those. I just kind of scaped it a bit.
Yeah,
The intake is on the bottom and the top, but it's
not
more on the
this one.
top.
This one
Not that
only
one?
has. This one has the intake halfway down. See that?
Halfway down. Yeah.
That's the intake.
Yeah, that's different. The one I had is like when I
Yeah,
was trying to put it together, a little 5 gallon for my
right.
daughter actually. They had it was difficult because I had to do a like somewhat of a deep substrate, but that there was the intake was like at the bottom,
Too
and I
close to
didn't
the
know.
bottom. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I had it was tricky to work with, but I
Right.
mean we'll see.
Right.
It's cycling right now.
So what I wanted to do was keep the water level down to 3 to 4 inches, and then do a waterfall with a lot of ferns. I've got this. Let me show you. I've got this tray
Uh huh.
of ferns.
Oh,
I must have. I got. I don't know how many. 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 12. About 15 different kinds of fern that I
those
want to
are
put in there. Some of
yeah.
which will stay small, like that one will stay small. Some of these will get too big, but I
Mhm.
want to
What about
I want to
moss?
start I want to start working with them, and I thought that would be a good place to use them. But to do that, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to rebuild this thing.
Okay.
So I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
DIY is the way to go.
Really. Well, we are running into Lucas.
Oh,
Luke,
yes,
Luke
yes,
Lucas
our
came on
favorite
it.
fish hoarder.
Yeah, the fish are. I see him. Let's see. I'm sure he's in there. Yes, he is. He started 4 minutes ago. So let's get out of the way. Let's
Yes.
go over and say hello to LRB.
Yeah. No, well, thank you for having me on.
Oh, EJ, I'm delighted to have you on, and I want you to come back. This was magical. I loved the conversation. I think everybody else did too. It was really great fun, and it'll be really fun to be able to touch base with you on a regular basis to see where you're at, what you're involved in, because it opens up so many doors to conversation about where we're going and what we're doing. So, very much appreciate you being with us this evening, and I look forward to doing it again next week.
Sure, absolutely.
Wonderful,
If you can
wonderful.
put up with my circus.
Well, I know your kids were enormously excited tonight about this,
Yes,
and
they wanted to jump in, and I threatened their quality of life.
well, I know you don't want to bring them up, and I strongly support that. My daughter has an 11-year-old who is just as excited. In fact, she did the intro to to my YouTube channel. I think I played it. Play
Yes,
it
I
again.
didn't know it was you said your granddaughter?
My granddaughter, yeah,
You are watching Father Fish. Now please enjoy the video.
that's her.
Very cute voice.
So I asked her to do another one that will ask people to click on the buttons. We'll
Nice.
see if she does that.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Yes,
Delighted to
thank
be
you.
with you. Fun
Let's
to
go
have you
watch the
here.
fish hoarder
Yeah,
and his journey in
let's go
Florida
watch
now.
Lucas. Right. Everybody
Mhm.
say hello to Lucas. Good night all. I'll be back Sunday night with Mary Page. We'll have a good time, so we'll see you all then. Take care. Love you all. Bye for now.